This is DLD, high tech, high touch, and after all the technology people panels, we had this beer thing. But now a speaker comes on stage which combines both. He is on one hand super, super high tech, on the other hand he is super, super high touch. And he will be interviewed by a good friend of DLD, Brady, from Brady company.
Who am I? What are you doing here?
No, Diane is a wonderful journalist. We met in Barcelona somewhere.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We did.
And,
a long time ago.
I'm impressed about your interview skills. And of course, Michael, this is your first time speaking at DLD.
Yes.
First, and I admire so much what you do. So it's a good combination here at DLD New York. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. The comfy couch. I always feel like Beyonce when I'm wearing this. So we'll start dancing for you in a minute. Yeah. I have to. So this is Michael Mendenhall. This is our talent. I thought she was going to make a reference to beer. Actually, I can combine it. So first of all, I would be remiss. I'm in a media capital at a conference sponsored by a media company. We're talking about Mashups, and I have to say, you were at DLD once before, I believe, and you were the CMO of Flextronics, which was this $28 billion massive manufacturer that was working, I thought, with big partners, doing, I think, 85% of the world's wearables. And now I go in and I look, and you're the CMO and CCO of Flex. You've got a magazine called Intelligence. I see this video series with this Charlie Rose-style interviewer named Michael Mendenhall, named you, basically. And my question is, what's changed? What's going on here? You're a media company, you're a manufacturer, you've got incubators. What exactly is Flex? Bring us up to date.
Yeah, so most people knew us as Flextronics. That's when we were really more just in contract manufacturing. That would have been about 15 years ago.
Right.
In the last 7 years, the company has evolved, and we've added all the design, engineering, more the front-end capabilities. There's a reason for that. And so we really go sketch to scale. We're in 13 industries today, very deeply. We do over $1 billion. Some of those industries, we do over $3 billion. Remember, that's cost of goods, so you realize we probably impact $300 billion in commerce every year. And we're at the heart of designing, engineering, and building smart, connected products. So that goes everything from potentially a washing machine that's smart and connected with a node to semi-autonomous vehicles. Today, we're in 450 plus models of automobiles to industrial goods. So we really see everything. And
So take us around the corner then and tell us about some of the coolest mashups you're seeing. So we hear a lot about the cars, get that, the bike, I can...
Well, when people talk about autonomous vehicles, they talk about, not self-driving cars, basically, but they don't talk about all the capabilities that have to go in to make that happen. And as you think of industry convergence, and that was one of the topics, is just the...
Converge or die, I believe it is.
Yes, converge or die.
We're going to talk about the dead in a minute. Or dying.
You start to see and hear automobile manufacturers saying, well, we're no longer that, we're in mobility. The fact that they're investing into service-based companies like Uber and Lyft, they've recognized, and most of those companies now are going to have expertise not only in the automobile manufacturing piece of it, but they now need to understand networking. They now need to understand storage. As you think of autonomous vehicles, they're going to have servers in the cars. They're going to have storage in the cars. They're going to have to.
So why do people work with you? If I'm an entrepreneur in the audience, obviously people think big company, they think money. I know you've got a lot of incubator spaces, you've got connections, you've got, contracts. But what is it that you're bringing to the partners you're working with?
Well, so it's the cross-industry experience. So just as I was saying, we're the largest engineering manufacturing firm for networking, storage in the world.
You have like 200,000 employees?
Yes, yeah. So you figure with that level of expertise, if you're going to be pulling servers and storage and networking into the car, we're also one of the largest at telco data centers as well as cloud data centers. So we have that level of expertise. So when you think of an autonomous vehicle, you don't get the autonomous vehicle without 5G.
Right.
we're leading a lot of that design and engineering work for the telco around 5G. So it's that experience. So when you come to us, we're seeing markets move faster than we've ever seen them. Product life cycles are shrinking. Innovation cycles are happening faster than we've seen them. So when you can start to combine all that, speed becomes important. Speed and agility. And how fast...
You help people with speed to market.
Yeah, because of the experiences. So when you think about, do you know the technology stacks? Are they reliable? Are they 100% reliable? If you're going into a car or a connected medical device, it better work all the time in any environment. Do you have expertise in material science if you're putting something against the skin? If you're doing an implanted device in medical? You know, are you familiar with the FDA, regulators, et cetera? And can you help us get there faster than we can get there? Because we just don't have the scale. We don't collectively innovate. We pull our innovation collectively from many, many different resources, whether it's universities, whether it's our OEMs, whether it's our supply base. So we really see all the technology and we see the strategic future roadmaps. So when you come to us, we can look at something and say, we can possibly do that. One of the examples I'll say is there was a wearable device. An automobile manufacturer came to us and said, we want this for our car and we want it to interface and do these things. And literally 2 weeks later it existed. And that's because we took our expertise in wearable technologies from the consumer sector of our company and pulled them into the automotive company, the automotive sector. And it's that cross-industry experience capabilities to get you to market. Now, why is that interesting? Most people focus with product on cost. Mm-hmm. Can you do it cheaper? Can we do it faster? Can you bring volume? Those conversations don't happen anymore. The conversations that companies are having with us now are, can you get me from an 18-month from product design to commerce in 9 months?
And
can you cut that in half?
How important was the rebrand? I made an allusion at the start, but I mean, you're out there having your connected, you're interviewing Tina Brown, right? Yep. About her, quizzing her on her childhood and interviewing a whole raft of newsmakers. And how does that change who you're talking to? I mean, is it, every brand is a media company now, but does it change sort of how you go to market? Do you feel like that's been an important part?
I've always felt that B2B marketing, it was always fascinating to me. I've been in the consumer space, the B2B2C space, and now the B2B space. And it was as if you were talking to a wholly different person when you go B2B.
Like they're kind of more depressed and serious?
Yes, yeah. So it was the white papers
right.
and the research. And I'm like, who has time, unless you're the scientist in the company, to read any of this? And then make sense of it. And I thought, you know, everybody's a person. And everybody...
So they say.
Yeah, everybody's a person. And to talk to them in a more familiar way and get them engaged. But let's talk to interesting people who are leading the fields of study and bring them insights that may help them. And make it digestible so that anyone who reads it would understand what's happening in that field. And so it was really to say, one, our marketing department views itself a media company. And we are about producing great content that isn't a house organ. So we don't sell ourselves. We're selling thought leadership around big topics in these industries that need to be addressed and that can be very helpful for people. Our level of engagement is extraordinary.
Well, I love the way it's framed, intelligence of things, you know, because I think that that's an interesting way to look at who the winners and losers are going to be. And I want to pivot a bit to the advice you have of what, first of all, you see a lot of success, you see a lot of failure, and we're in a time when it's all being sped up. What are the hallmarks of who succeeds, whether it's Mashups with you or otherwise, and what sort of red flags?
Well, I always think in technology companies we tend to forget, and I think it was Einstein's quote that was interesting about the fact that for true intelligence you have to have imagination. And I think we tend to lose that in the thought process. And And so for me, I think first and foremost is, does that startup, does that, entrepreneur or that business person in this company have an imagination? Have they visualized why they want to do this? How helpful is it? What is it replacing? What is it going to do that's going to be beneficial for people? And it's that idea, have that idea. So,
what does it mean to converge with a huge company? I'm sort of looking, somebody's got to throw a shoe at my head. I can't see the timer, but it's, when you think about just working with, say, a David and Goliath situation where you're the giant, a lot of people think convergence, they think consumption, right? You're a small player working with you. Can you give me some sense as how you make it work? I mean, is it that you're...
Well, we have an amazing
bloom?
relationships with VCs.
Okay,
and
so they bring you a lot
of...
So
the VCs, if they see something that is product related, that is smart and connected, is going to deal with cognitive capabilities or AI, they'll generally send them our way and say, you should go see these guys, they can help you. What we're looking for in that relationship is, one, is there any interesting core underlying technologies we could learn from these entrepreneurs or these startups? If there is, that becomes interesting for us.
Like acquisition potentially, you mean? Or
no, just core underlying technologies that we could use throughout our industry. Like what is it they're doing?
Right.
And then would we get access? So a lot of times, we will help scale them. We will put our engineering teams on them, and we will get them to a point of scale. Like, we're going to pull you through this thing, and so we have a lab that we do that with, and we can go from making 3 of something to 100 to 10,000.
How many labs do you have now? You've got all these innovation centers.
24 innovation centers around the world. We have one here. We just held a big event there.
It's fashion and...
This is retail, fashion. The one in Boston is medical technology. There's one in Detroit. We have a very large one in Tel Aviv, Israel. We have the largest one in Silicon Valley. We have one in Shanghai, China. And we're thinking about one in Europe right now. But there's 23 of them. They specialize in certain industry sectors where we see technology coming along. So
there's a lot of paranoia, especially you keep hearing things like, whether it's the number of connected devices, the number of companies that are going to die. I've heard 40% in 10 years and such. What's your own prediction? And do you feel that? I mean, should we be as paranoid? What is it that's going to...
I think first is one of the biggest things we see is failure happens at leadership, and that's at
complacency.
Yeah, it's the dysfunction with the founders, dysfunction in the leadership, entrepreneurs. What makes them great can also bring failure because they get distracted easily onto the evolution of the product or a new product category that is related to the product they launched, and they haven't even really launched the original product, and they start to get distracted, and then they lack focus. So I would say leadership and focus is where you see the most failure.
But it's interesting, you also work with very large companies as partners, so you have this unusual role where you're working with disruptors to help disrupt major industries that you're also working with to help empower so that they can... Do you just have to be agnostic? Like, essentially, it's like you can work with anybody. It doesn't matter if they're disrupting an existing customer?
We do. The way we work is generally what we see more and more of is this co-innovation where they want to embed their teams with us. So most of these innovation labs we have, they're actually embedded in our company. And then we have a set of engineers that are under NDA that are embedded with them. And they go into these clean rooms. So,
It's a clean room.
This is where...
Disruptive thoughts.
No, it's really more about who has access.
Okay.
It's very tightly controlled. The security is pretty high. because you can imagine some of the things we see that will give a customer competitive differentiation.
So you're creating a wall
our
so that
CEO,
everybody feels...
Our CEO, myself, we cannot get into some of those rooms. We don't have an access badge that gets us in, yet they're in our facility working on whatever they're working on. Yeah.
You can do an interview.
Yeah.
I became a journalist at 15 to meet my favorite band. Why not, right? I wasn't.
But there's a lot of learning, I think, where you started with this idea that, aren't we all media companies? I think we all have to own our reputation, and less about the brand and more about the brand reputation of a company. And I think when you start to see where blockchain technologies and AI have been very disruptive, relative to these things you hear about news, fake news, that when that environment moves into the business world, the ability to disrupt a brand very quickly and put them on their heels could very potentially happen. And I think that's why today, ever more important is what you're doing in CSER and global citizenship. Ever more important it is to own your communities, to be engaged with your communities. And that doesn't mean marketing and sales, you're selling at somebody. You're bringing these people into the conversations.
Well, you have their attention. Yeah. That's the scarce commodity, isn't it?
Yeah, and you engage them in a real way. And I will tell you, you will get the benefit of the doubt should your brand or company come under attack relative to what we see in the internet world today.
So let me just end off on the idea of mashups. Since everybody talks about partnerships and co-creating, co-opetition, what do you want people to take away in terms of how to think about mashups and how it's different than perhaps what we often
Well, I think the entrepreneurs, their mentality is set around mashing up and getting help, finding resources, and so they understand how to integrate with a company like ours and use the resources in the right way. Where we're starting to see more of that is from the big brands. We're not doing this the right way. Most of them have opened their R&D and innovation centers in Silicon Valley. Even with doing that, a lot of them have embedded their teams in our company. Again, because velocity is competitive advantage.
And who's your next big interview? Can you tell us?
I cannot.
Oh, you cannot? Okay. To be
I
continued.
told her backstage I should have done that.
It's like a clean room. I've forgotten it all. Michael Mendenhall, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I look forward to hearing more.